negligently causing the death of Edward Core as charged in the indictment identified in charge ID 1842250C, or not guilty?
Not guilty.
You say, Madam Foreperson, that he is not guilty?
Correct.
So say you all, ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Yes.
How say you, Madam Foreperson, as the defendant Volodymyr Zhukovsky guilty of the crime of manslaughter and recklessly causing the death of Joanne Core as charged in the indictment identified with charge ID 1842262C, or not guilty?
Not guilty.
You say, Madam Foreperson, the defendant is not guilty?
Correct.
So say you all, ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Yes.
How say you, Madam Foreperson, is the defendant Volodymyr Zhukovsky guilty of the crime of manslaughter and recklessly causing the death of Michael Farazi as charged in the indictment identified with charge ID 1842266C, or not guilty?
Not guilty.
You say, Madam Foreperson, the defendant is not guilty?
Correct.
So say you all, ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Yes.
How say you, Madam Foreperson, is the defendant Volodymyr Zhukovsky guilty of the crime of manslaughter and recklessly causing the death of Albert Maza as charged in the indictment identified with charge ID 1842267C, or not guilty?
Not guilty.
So say you, Madam Foreperson, the defendant is not guilty?
Correct.
So say you all, ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Yes.
How say you, Madam Foreperson, is the defendant Volodymyr Zhukovsky guilty of the crime of manslaughter and recklessly causing the death of Daniel Pereira as charged in the indictment identified with charge ID 1842272C, or not guilty?
Not guilty.
You say, Madam Foreperson, the defendant is not guilty?
Correct.
So say you all, ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Yes.
How say you, Madam Foreperson, is the defendant Volodymyr Zhukovsky guilty of the crime of manslaughter and recklessly causing the death of Desma Oaks as charged in the indictment identified with charge ID 1842274C, or not guilty?
Not guilty.
You say, Madam Foreperson, the defendant is not guilty?
Correct.
So say you all, ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Yes.
How say you, Madam Foreperson, is the defendant Volodymyr Zhukovsky guilty of the crime of manslaughter and recklessly causing the death of Aaron Perry as charged in the indictment identified with charge ID 1842279C, or not guilty?
Not guilty.
You say not guilty, Madam Foreperson?
Correct.
So say you all, ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Yes.
How say you, Madam Foreperson, is the defendant Volodymyr Zhukovsky guilty of the crime of negligent homicide in negligently causing the death of Edward Core as charged in the indictment identified with charge ID 1842285C, or not guilty?
Not guilty.
So say you, Madam Foreperson, the defendant is not guilty?
Correct.
So say you all, ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Yes.
How say you, Madam Foreperson, is the defendant Volodymyr Zhukovsky guilty of of the crime of negligent homicide and negligently causing the death of Joanne Core as charged in the indictment identified with charge ID 1842290C, or not guilty?
Not guilty.
You say, Madam Foreperson, the defendant is not guilty?
Correct.
So say you all, ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Yes.
How say you, Madam Foreperson, is the defendant Volodymyr Zhukovsky guilty of the crime of negligent homicide and negligently causing the death of Michael Farazi as charged in the indictment identified with charge ID 1842292C, or not guilty?
Not guilty.
You say, Madam Foreperson, the defendant is not guilty?
Correct.
So say you all, ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Yes.
How say you, Madam Foreperson, is the defendant Volodymyr Zhukovsky guilty of the crime of negligent homicide and negligently causing the death of Albert Maza as charged in the indictment identified with charge ID 1842294C, or not guilty?
Not guilty.
You say, Madam Foreperson, the defendant is not guilty.
Correct.
So say you all, ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Yes.
How say you, Madam Foreperson, is the defendant Volodymyr Zhukovsky guilty of the crime of negligent homicide and negligently causing the death of Daniel Pereira, as charged in the indictment identified with charge ID 1842296C, or not guilty?
Not guilty.
You say, Madam Foreperson, the defendant is not guilty.
Correct.
So say you all, ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Yes.
How say you, Madam Foreperson, is the defendant Volodymyr Zhukovsky guilty of the crime of negligent homicide and negligently causing the death of Desma Oaks, as charged in the indictment identified with charge ID 1842302C, or not guilty?
Not guilty.
You say, Madam Foreperson, the defendant is not guilty.
Correct.
So say you all, ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Yes.
How say you, Madam Foreperson, is the defendant Volodymyr Zhukovsky guilty of the crime of negligent homicide in negligently causing the death of Aaron Perry, as charged in the indictment identified with charge ID 1842310C, or not guilty?
Not guilty.
You say, Madam Foreperson, the defendant is not guilty.
Correct.
So say you all, ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Yes.
How do you say, Madam Foreperson, is the defendant Volodymyr Zhukovsky guilty of the crime of reckless conduct, as charged in the indictment identified with charge ID 1842440C, or not guilty?
Not guilty.
You say, Madam Foreperson, the defendant is not guilty.
Correct.
So say you all, ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Yes.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Counsel, anything further before I excuse the jurors?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
Thank the jury
Okay.
for their service.
Thank you so much.
Members of the jury, I'll be down to speak with you in just a moment in the jury deliberation room, after which you can be on your way, and I will address any issues that counsel may need me to address after I speak to the jurors. Jury may be excused.